Hello, everyone, and welcome to our vlog for today, our unlikely guide to joy. So, our unlikely guide to joy is something that everyone has gone through, and everyone has felt. Okay. And that unlikely guide to joy is what we're going to call our inward facing emotions, or also known as our negative emotions. They're actually our guides back to joy, but we don't see them that way all the time because they're uncomfortable, because they don't feel good. And we're like, well, I want to feel good. And there is this stigma within the spiritual community, the new age community, the positive thinking community, that negative emotions are bad, or that you shouldn't feel them. And if you do feel them, that somehow like you've gotten off track or that you're bad. And that's not true. Our negative emotions are not no better nor worse than our positive emotions. They are merely guideposts. And our negative emotions are guideposts back to joy, while our positive emotions are just leading us towards greater and greater joy. So when we feel a negative emotion, it's not about trying to push it down or push it away or just be like, fingers in your ears, eyes closed, la, 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 I can't hear you, I can't hear you. No. We want to face that emotion. We want to feel it so that we can let it go. Because all too often, we do not do that. All too often, we try to push the emotion away. And we're trying to be like, okay, well, I got to feel better. I got to feel better. Let's, instead of just trying to feel better immediately, let's instead, what if we questioned that negative emotion? Because that negative emotion, like I said, it's a guidepost back to joy. So when we experience a negative emotion or an inward facing emotion, it's giving us an invitation, and it's saying, hey, either an emotional or memory event or trauma has been activated because of what someone said, or maybe someone looked at you the wrong way, or the vibe is just kind of off, but something within you has been activated. Okay. That's what that negative emotion is. It's telling you, hey, and let's just use this for example. Let's say when you were younger, that your teacher told you to raise your hand if you had a question. And let's say, it's several months into school, you raise your hand, you've had your hand up, and they just ignored you. And then finally you're like, excuse me. And they're like, put your hand down. And you're like, whoa, and you just kind of go about your day. But what you've actually done is, perhaps not always, maybe you've stored that emotion in what Robin Duncan calls your emotional vault, or we can just say our energetic body, we can say our minds, our memories, our engrams, whatever you want to call it. We've just kind of trapped it in there, and it just kind of is there, and something will ping off of it, right? Maybe you're at a really big meeting and the boss says, hey, if you got something to say, like that's important, raise your hand, and I'll see you on the video call, and I'll go ahead and you can say what you need to say. So you put your hand up because you feel like it's really important. You're like, hey, and then you put your hand up on the screen, you got your hand up, and you're kind of like starting to wave it, and the boss just kind of doesn't pay attention to you, and then after the meeting reprimands you, and it's like, well, that was ridiculous, I don't know why you were waving your hands everywhere, I was getting to you, I had to make my point first. And then that ping, it activates that trauma from when you were 5 years old, or when you were in school, and it's triggered you, and you're like, oh wow, okay, that was just triggered. And so you're feeling upset, you're feeling angry, and whatever the case may be, whatever you're feeling, we need to acknowledge that feeling. not push it away, not repress it, not be like, oh, I shouldn't feel it, or, close our eyes to it and be like, well, if I just close my eyes, then that's it. I can't see it. I won't feel it anymore. Feel it, because what that is doing is it's helping you to clear out your emotional vault. So that way you can continue to stay in a, we could say, more peaceful state of mind, because that trauma or that activator is no longer there. That's all that negative emotion is attempting to do for you. But see, what we have a tendency to do is we don't feel it, or we wallow in the feeling. And those are really our two diametrically opposed things that we'll do. Either we'll ignore the feeling altogether because, within the New Age community, the spiritual community, the positive thinking community, negative emotions are seen as blasphemous and terrible and awful. Or we go to the complete opposite and we're like, oh, I'm just going to revel in this anger and frustration and so forth and so on. But what if we just felt it and then began to question it? Because we don't question it at all. We're just like, well, it is what it is. I'm angry because, this person did this to me, or whatever the case is, instead of being like, okay, well, why am I angry? Where is this anger really coming from? Maybe it is just because the boss said that to you and you felt that you had something really important to say. But that's going to lead us to our second point, which is perhaps, not even perhaps, let's get rid of the word perhaps. You are seeing yourself opposite to how the divine is seeing you within the situation. And what I mean by that is that you may be seeing yourself as a victim, or as whatever the case may be. We're just going to say a victim right now, because that's just where the example is. So you may be seeing yourself as a victim where the divine is not seeing you that way. So this emotional state, this inward facing emotion, is merely trying to help you and saying, hey, so this is how you're feeling. Great, wonderful. Accept it, acknowledge it. And as we accept it and as we acknowledge it, we can say, okay, well, am I really a victim here? And the answer is going to be no. Within this situation, I am not a victim to my boss or to this role or to this situation. No. So what is it that I can do, or what would I like to do with this emotional state? Do I want to stay in it? I can if I want to, free will. I got that choice. If I want to stay in that emotional state, I am more than welcome to. What is it serving? Who is it helping? Is it helping me to feel better, to get angrier and angrier? Most likely not. Is it helping you to feel like, oh, this always happens to me? I can't catch a break. Never can catch a break. And I'll ask you one of my favorite questions, and it comes from one of my very, very best, greatest friends. How's that working out for you? How's being angry all the time working out for you? If you can say, great, wonderful, fantastic, free will choice. So we need to be willing to feel the emotion, question the emotion, release the emotion. Release the story that is tied to that emotion. Because sometimes there is a story. Sometimes it's the whole 5-year-old story. Sometimes it's just you're seeing yourself opposite to how the divine is seeing you within this situation. You may be seeing yourself as, a victim of the world or a victim of this company, and you just don't have a choice. And the divine is saying, I see you as my holy, precious child. I see you as a limitless, but you're seeing yourself as limited. I see you as all powerful. You see yourself as limitedly powerful. And so this is where our inward facing emotions can be those unlikely guides to joy, because they're helping us to let all of that stuff go. So that way, if it does rise up again, or a situation happens again, that you're not, number one, triggered and by the past, and number two, you can come back to this realization of, okay, well, maybe I'm feeling angry. Well, I'm angry because I am currently seeing myself as limited, but I must have forgotten that I am one with the divine. I must have forgotten that the divine walks with me wherever I go. Oh, that's it. I must have forgotten that. Thank goodness I can remember it. And thank goodness I can remember it here and now. And again, that negative emotion just told you, hey, you're seeing yourself opposite. And then that gave you the invitation to say, well, okay, I see that. I acknowledge it. Let me go. Let me move back towards joy. And I love that I just said move back towards joy. And unfortunately, I can't show it to you, but I'm sitting here in my living room, and there are these two beautiful yellow butterflies literally dancing on the patio. Like, it's fantastic. And yellow butterflies to me mean Archangel Jophiel, the angel of joy, the angel of liberation. Oh my God. And the angel of happiness. And so, you know, with those two butterflies right there, kind of giving us that beautiful saying, be happy, you know, you can liberate yourself from your negative emotions, not by pushing them down or repressing them or pushing them away or acting like they don't exist. Instead, you can bring yourself that liberation by facing that feeling, questioning that feeling, and then releasing that feeling. And that is what will lead you back to that happiness. So I thank you for joining me. I thank you for being here and joining me for this vlog called The Unlikely Guides to Joy. So again, have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you're interested in learning more about me, learning more about my services, you can, of course, go visit my website, which is in the description of the video for those on YouTube. And of course, for those of you that are watching this on the website, you already know where to find everything.